We are told ad nauseum by the powers that shouldn't be and their talking head media puppets projecting nothing more than an approved script written for them to deliver with a smile and condescending attitude of superiority to the unthinking masses that democracy is the epitome of social order and that it is always under attack from subversive outside forces who want to take your freedoms away, when they are the ones actually doing it with very sophisticated forms of gaslighting and thought control. We're told that there is a social contract by which we all must abide, and that it's this ethereal and illusory social contract that ensures our democracy and the system which supposedly protects our rights and freedoms. But as many of us know full well, everything sold to us by criminal governments around the world is an inversion of objective reality. So why would so many people continue to believe that democracy, or the social contract known as the Constitution, is anything but another deception to enslave rather than to protect us? It is those telling us that democracy is the solution that want nothing more than to control every aspect of our lives. And that's authoritarian rule, not freedom. The deception runs very deep, and the real truth is that your supposed leaders have nothing but contempt for you. All they see is what they can extract from you in terms of votes or money. They don't really care about you at all. They only say they do. So let's ask a few more critical thinking questions. Do you have a job, or have you ever had one? Then you've had a contract with the government via your required tax forms that allows them to take your money before you even see it. Now, is that a fair or equitable contract? Is it something you negotiated along with the terms of your employment, or was it a requirement as a condition for your employment at all, and something to which the government demands all employers abide by law? Did you have an option of opting out of contracting with a criminal organization as terms of this employment? Or is the system rigged from top to bottom and nearly impossible to opt out of without hundreds of hours of research, study, and then countless hours of ridiculous paperwork and correspondence with idiotic bureaucrats? Do you own a business? Do you have a license to operate that business, which also says you must give a certain percentage of your earnings to an illegitimate authority to waste in ways to which you never agreed? Is that a contract that you were coerced into signing for the privilege of doing business in a supposedly free society? If you operated that business unlicensed, but to the overwhelming satisfaction of your customers, would you be robbed or thrown in a cage for doing so anyway? These are all valid questions we must ask if we actually believe we live in a free society. Because every government document you have ever signed has essentially converted your birthrights into privileges, which can then be taken away if you do not now abide by whatever insane amount of laws in the U.S. Code applied to that document or adhesion contract. Does this sound like freedom to you? Or does it sound like you have been forced to ask permission from your big daddy government to do almost anything in this world anymore? Do you think that maybe there is a better way to manage society and ensure that people do the right thing and are kept honest? Wouldn't just regular contracts between two people be good enough to ensure genuine agreements without any need for any government intervention? Do we need a three-party contract in any of our interactions at all? And if you're wondering what happens when an individual violates the terms of the contract in a natural law republic with a common law system, fault or guilt would be determined and reparations awarded to the victim. We don't need mammoth governmental bodies to ensure civilization cooperates on a moral basis. Government has only proven over and over to corrupt morality, both in individuals and on a societal-wide basis. Compulsory government schooling has all but destroyed the intellectual capacity of hundreds of millions over the past 2 centuries alone. But the majority still believes in its necessity, which is absurd. Everything can and must be simplified if we ever hope to live in a world of complete freedom. We have been indoctrinated from birth, especially in America, that our Constitution protects our rights and guarantees our freedoms. But that is a cultural belief which is provably false in countless different ways. What we have been led to believe, that our government cares about us and we elect representatives to protect and ensure our rights and freedoms, couldn't be further from the truth and reality in which we live. I would think that would be blatantly obvious to most by now, but the majority are still in denial that we have been lied to about that as well, and continue to vote for more of the same insanity. If you know anything about anything, you'd understand that what we just went through for the past 2 years was all based on a massive deception that goes back well over a century. And there are millions of people who are aware of this lie, yet it seems that absolutely no one in any government position of illegitimate power or authority are aware of this falsehood, and all went along with the deception which destroyed the lives of millions, the economic engine, the supply chains, and not to mention the relationships of many millions more who bought into the lie without a single moment of critical thought or reflection about what they were being told by already known liars. All the while, not a single government minion lost even a day of pay, and most likely even got raises and or profited off the scam. Talk about criminality. But people still believe in government. People still believe they are working for our best interest, and that the supposed experts in all of their fields are infallibly brilliant in their bloviated opinions. We're expected to believe without question, as if it were all manna from heaven. And if you don't, you're somehow the crazy one, living on the fringes of civil society. Honestly, I can't even believe I'm saying these words. But this is the reality of our world today, and all those who have been willfully deceived essentially form a collective anchor which is slowly dragging all of civilization to the depths in a sea of ignorance from which we will all surely perish if we don't unite and turn this insanity around. I asked in part 1 of this series if people really understood what gave government its power, other than the barrel of a gun or a monopoly on illegitimate force. And my answer was ignorance, which creates fear and inevitably causes cowardly compliance. That is the root of our current condition. Everything is based in lies and violations of natural law. Yet people still comply because they are paralyzed by unfounded fears based in pure ignorance of objective reality. It's really as simple as that. So, what is the solution to that quagmire? The system I have proposed, called the Natural Law Republic, solves all of that and more. What gives the Natural Law Republic its legitimacy, which is held and kept in check by the people who retain the power in a fully decentralized manner, and gives the system its legitimate authority and responsibility to manage the vital necessities of society? The answer is the people who sign and authorize the public service administrations to manage these necessities, as well as create the republic itself. So, as opposed to the constitutions of the past, which were signed by only a handful of men, and to which Lysander Spooner convincingly argued the people of the nation were not beholden nor protected by, because they were not signatory to the contract, the Natural Law Republic will be authorized by every single person in the nation, because they will all be signatory to the document and all agree that it should be the supreme law of the land. This alone would make null and void all current laws in the U.S. Code, because instantly there would be millions of people signatory to a contract in opposition to one with no signatories. That's how we restore all power back to the people. All it takes is a unification of millions behind this idea, and enacting this new system by their willful intent and signatures alone. And as I stated in part 2 of this video blog series, every single person who just wants to live their lives in peace and be left alone would have absolutely no problem with anything in the proposed Constitution for a natural law republic, because it is written to ensure and guarantee their sovereignty, but also to protect everyone and the new social order from ever being taken over again from outside forces. The checks and balances written into the Constitution and the social contract system ensures the complete decentralization of power to the people and replaces the current illegitimate positions of power with legitimate positions of responsibility. Do you see the massive shift there? It is an entirely revolutionary and transformative way of running society, and one that would enable all individuals to achieve their full potential in life for many reasons that hinder so many people today. They claim their power comes from words on paper by which we all must abide. So, what if we unite and create our own words on paper that create an entirely new reality, and one that removes their power, because their words on their paper are all in violation of natural law and no longer hold any influence over anyone or anything because everyone rejects them as illegitimate? After all, it's all just words on paper that they supposedly claim gives them their power, right? But that's what they point to when they say they have a right to impose their will on you by creating this or that new law. But they are nothing more than words on paper, backed by a captured enforcement class that will leave them once the people unite and turn on the system en masse. This is the peaceful path to freedom and emancipation from these completely insane legacy systems of enslavement. All we need to do is unite and create our own words on paper and give them more power than the current ones have over the ignorant masses, because we all actually endorse them ourselves with our own signatures. We can play their game too, and in doing so, we will create a world in which psychopathic control freaks can never gain power over the masses again. But you'll never know or understand the power behind this idea if you don't take the time to look at the proposals and documentation. I have created it all based on a decade and a half of diligent work and deep thought. All you have to do is read it, or even watch the videos in which I narrate every word of every proposed document to understand the power we have and can initiate once we have united behind this idea. We have absolutely no obligation or loyalty to remain in a system which contractually binds us illegitimately to our own enslavement. In fact, it is completely insane to want to remain in such a system. Is it not time to create an entirely new system which frees us all, guarantees our sovereignty, and truly offers contractual protections against oppression or coercion ever again? Is it not time to stop hacking at the branches of evil and once and for all strike at the root? Voting and legal action will never remove the power of the criminal predator class. Those methods have failed over and over for decades as the entire system is corrupted. The only true and viable solution is to let the entire thing die by transitioning to a far superior system which truly empowers the people for the first time in human history. Thank you very much for listening. I love you all, and tune in tomorrow for the fourth and final part of this series.